All right, guys. So can we start the session? Am I audible to all of you? Is the voice is loud and clear? Can you just confirm me? Okay, right. All right. Okay, so I can see the responses. So let's continue, guys. Okay. So before that, any questions? Any questions from the previous discussion? Yes. Okay. So I'll unmute all of you. You can raise your hands if you have questions, and then we can have a direct discussion for the first 10 minutes so that others will also join. So guys, let me stop this recording for some time. Okay. And then I'll unmute one by one and we can discuss. Okay. So we can continue today's discussion. Okay. So guys, today, as you can see here, we are going to discuss the most important topic where you may get caught in between. So far what we were discussing is something which are quite obvious. We were talking about current affairs question. We were talking about DAF based questions and how to answer all these. But now in this session, we are going to discuss how you're going to deal with the situational questions or the hypothetical questions when it comes to UPSC interview. And this is what I consider as slightly challenging and difficult. uh, it looks easy because you will be given situation which is very common situation only, and there is nothing which is extraordinary or difficult here. But the way you are going to answer that, that's what it makes it actually difficult. Okay, so here we are not going to impress too much on the, when it comes to the board. We want to make it average. So what I'll do is I'll give you the steps that you need to follow. Okay, just follow the same script, not the script, the step, or what we are going to discuss in the session. So these are, again, let me tell you, these are kind of questions that put you in real world scenario, or they give you a hypothetical situation and they will ask you how you're going to handle this. See, again, it's not about what you answer in ethics. There, nobody's going to question you, once you gave a response. Here, that's not the case. So again, here you are not going to take any extreme stand. I've given a clarity in the previous session also, but here let's get more into this. And what panel do here? The panel basically uses these questions to assess your judgment and your decision making skill. Okay, and also your ethical and moral standard also. So when it comes to these kind of questions, it's something which you need to understand, that you should never compromise on your view. First, you will go with your view. You also need to consider the others' opinions and the perspective also, and give a balanced approach. See, extremes give you definitely good mark if it works, but what if it won't work? And there's an open-ended question and there is no specific answer. So it's not mathematical. So what we need in this kind of question is, we don't want to capitalize on this. We just need to get, average impression at least, because we should not lose here. Okay, because that can affect your confidence also. So that's what normally we plan, and they want to see how you would respond to such complex questions, complex situations, your ethical standards, your judgment capacity, your decision making skill, and how balanced approach you can bring in. All these will be tested here, especially in this complex situation, hypothetical situation, unexpected scenarios, how you handle that pressure, how much you will be calm in that situation. So all these are essential for future civil servant. So you see, this is how we are categorizing the questions. We have the 50 lectures. Out of 50 lectures, we will be having specific 30 lectures for understanding the type of questions. We discussed already the DAF based questions. We discussed already the current affairs questions. These are obvious. Now these type of questions also we need to understand and we need to see, because there are certain purpose for the question. So what we were talking about, if you can understand the why of the question, you know what to answer and how to answer. So the objective is, what's the why of this particular question? Why the hypothetical questions are asked, right? So they are putting you in the complex situation because they want to assess certain qualities that is required for a civil servant, whether you possess that qualities or not. That is what they're trying to analyze from your answer, whether you're giving a balanced approach, whether you are considering the others' opinions and perspective also, whether you are having a judgment or a decision-making ability, whether you're having a leadership skill, whether you have an organizational capacity or a team building capacity, and all these will come into this based on the situations which is given to you. See, again, From my experience, I would say these questions are some of the most challenging, but also most revealing about yourself in terms of your personality, your approach to the public service. So it can reveal many things. Okay, that's why I told you we want to be average in this kind of questions. Okay, so now let's get started. Let's move on to the next slide. So the purpose of the situational questions already we discussed. They'll check your ethical standard, moral standard, your integrity, your decision-making skill they will check, and the pressure handling capacity. All these is what they are actually looking for. And see, these are situational questions. When I say hypothetical question means situational question. A complex question will be given to you and it is designed basically to simulate real world challenges that you might face in future as a civil servant. So how you're going to handle that is what they want to know. Okay, so from your answer, they will assess and analyze certain things that they want to know about you. So these could, there can be ethical dilemmas. They'll put you in a situation where you come across certain ethical dilemmas. Okay, and administrative crisis there could be there. Leadership challenges can be there, and the panel use these questions to evaluate some of the key traits which you can see in the screen, that how you handle the pressure, first and most important, and your decision making skill, ability, and the ethical standards that you possess. Okay, and your other aspects like how balanced you are, how you consider others, etc. So how you handle pressure is again very important, whether you can remain calm and composed when faced with such difficult situations. So when you're coming across this question, the way you answer that itself will make them understand whether you will be able to handle such kind of situation in future as a civil servant. Okay, and again, your decision making process. So do you take a thoughtful, balanced approach in solving the problems? Because there will be situations where you can come across crisis situations, where you face ethical dilemmas, where there will be problem with different communities. Okay, so a thoughtful decision is required. You cannot go one-sided, you cannot go partial, right? So different other dimensions need to be considered. And in fact, they have asked me question related to two communities in Tamil Nadu, which I have mentioned in my previous lecture. We'll come to that later also. And ethical standards, whether you prioritize integrity and fairness in your decision making. I told you absolute integrity, no compromise on that. Need to be shown. I'm not saying need to be maintained in future. That's up to you. That is, I don't care whether you do that or not. There is nothing to do with you and me, or I have no commitment to make you, a person who have absolute integrity in your life. But I want to make you as a person who at least can show that you have absolute integrity, at least in that 20 minutes when you're going for the interview. That's it. Okay, so again, this is what in my interviews I've encountered several hypothetical questions. My friends also, that they will put you in different situations where you will find ethical dilemmas. And with this, what they'll do is they'll test not only your knowledge, but also your ability to take decisions under pressure. Okay, so yeah, to one of my friend once asked a question, how he would handle a situation where public protests were escalating into violence. And it was a test of how he could balance law and order with the need to address public grievances. Basically, he have given IPS as a first preference. Like me also have given IPS as a first preference, though that's my choice, and I got IPS, though I have 112th rank and I belong to OBC. Still, I could have got IS, but I got IPS. My friend also gave the preference of IPS, and he got this question: how a situation where public protests were escalating into violence. And see, from this, what they're actually trying to test is how he will balance law and order with the need of the need to address the public grievances also. So that's how they will give you the situational questions. Okay, now coming to the next slide. What is there? Yes, now this is again the most important part, guys. Follow this. Okay, practice it over a period of time, just like you practiced a method prep. How is it effective or not? Yes, right. And we have discussed the example also. So let's move on to this now, framework of answering. See, there are certain steps that you need to follow to tackle these situational questions effectively. Follow the structured framework, and you don't want to think and do anything at that point of time. Only thing that you need to do is you already have a structure based on the question given, take the input and give it into the structure which you already have. You are not going to create a new structure. You're going to make a new framework or anything. You just put the contents into the structure. You are not going to innovate anything over there, and you deliver what the output you get from the existing structure that you have. Okay, only thing is that you change the input, based on that output will change. The structure remains the same. Okay, so what's the first step here? Understand the situation. So see, before answering any such questions, make sure you fully understood the scenario. And if you're not able to understand, ask them, sir, in polite way, sir, can you kindly repeat? Okay, so you can do that, and it's okay to take a moment to process the situation. That also will tell them that, yeah, you are having, you are taking time and you are maintaining that composure, you are thinking. So that's actually good only. Take a moment, understand the situation. Let's that processing goes on to your mind. Okay, and this shows that you are thoughtful and you don't rush into, taking decisions. That is also required. Even if you got the answer, still spend some 15 seconds to show them that you're not rushing into that and you're always thoughtful in when it comes to decision making. And then take a pause and take a breathe, and then only you give the answer. That also have a lot of impact. They will understand, yes, this guy is not rushing into this and is not so desperate like that. Okay, again, so what's next? You understood the situation. Now identify the stakeholders. See, think about who all are involved in this, who all are affected by the situation which is given to you. So are you dealing with the public, government officials, or specific communities? I told you I have been given a situation where two communities have issues. Okay, so there the stakeholders are mainly the communities, but at the same time, the public, other public also will come, and the state also will come. Okay, so understanding stakeholders will actually help you to make decisions that consider everyone's interest. Remember, you need to bring in everyone's perspective. So it is very important that you understand the stakeholders involved in this so that you are not missing out on anyone. That ensures justice to everyone. And that is something which they will definitely check for. You are not going to miss any stakeholder in this situation. And you will have options. See, guys, automatically these will come to you. Don't worry about that. With the practice and the one-to-one sessions that we have and the mock interviews that you take, you don't worry. Now it looks slightly difficult. You have options to see that situation, and you will have to weigh the options. Okay, and consider the different course of actions which is available, options which are available in front of you, and what are the pros and cons of each of these options. Let's say you have two options. Analyze this, see the pros and cons of this, and think critically about the short-term and long-term impact of each situation. You can also mention, you should tell what you're going to do. Also, make them understand short-term this is what, long-term this is what. Or if I am doing this, short-term we may not have that much impact, but if you see long-term, I am looking for long-term sustainability over a long period of time. Mention that. You need to see I am a futuristic person, and I'm seeing this from a long-term perspective. I'm not looking at this from a short-term perspective. I want to solve this problem permanently and not temporarily. But at the same time, I want to get a solution temporarily as well. Okay, so that need to be there, and you need to ultimately make a balanced decision. So the best decision is one that will comprise both ethical and practical standards. So something which you can do and something which is ethical. So what I want to say is, if you remember in the previous session, I told you means and ends. Follow the right means and achieve the end. That's the best decision. Second best decision is achieve the end, because that is required for that particular time, and practical solution is required. Sometimes you need to, bend sometimes for the benefit of the society, then, the means. That's the second best decision. So if you come across these two, opt for the first one, of course. Means and ends are correct. Second way, means may be diluted, but ends are achieved for the benefit of society, not for the benefit of you. Third option, you follow the rule, but you don't achieve the goal. What's the benefit? Who's getting benefit? Why you are there then? right? Entire society is suffering and you just following the rules. There is of no use. So you are not practical person then. You are willing to take risk. That's the second option. See, third option, you follow the rules only, stick to the rule book, and you are making the people suffer. Practically nothing is happening, which means you are a person who have no courage. You are a person who cannot take decision, and you are not a practical person. Okay, so these are the best three options. Weigh the options and see which one is applicable in which context. Okay, so I repeat, these are the 4 steps that you need to see. You have to understand the situation, take time for that, and identify the stakeholders. Don't miss anyone. See the options which are available and make a balanced decision. Okay. Okay. So in one of my interview, actually, I was asked how I would handle a communal conflict as a district magistrate. So that's in the first interview. Asked to me as a district magistrate, because that person might not have seen my preference that I have given IPS, but still it's a general question which is expected. I can easily change it to, SP if you have given, preference as your preference as IPS. So I followed the same framework by first addressing the root cause of the conflict, identifying the key stakeholders, the community. Who are the stakeholders here? 2 communities. So you're dealing with not the entire community, you're dealing with the community leaders. So who can influence the community, you need to find out. So you're dealing with the community leaders. See here, as a district magistrate, you need to answer, right? So you need to talk about another stakeholder as police and the public. So these are the stakeholders involved. That mainly, I'm not talking about the entire community. I'm not going to stand in public and talk to entire community. I need to identify who can convince the community. Okay, so who can do that? The community leader. So to whom I need to discuss with? I need to discuss with the community leader, not to the community. Is it better to handle 1,000 people or one person? Who can handle the 1,000 people? That's the question here. Okay. So, and then you need to give a suggestion, a balanced approach that combine law enforcement with dialogue and mediation. That's exactly what I've did. And the panel, of course, appreciated, and they have to appreciate in this kind of, if you have given this kind of answer. See, guys, whatever I'm talking about, this is what I've learned from my mentors, and this is what I've acquired from my experience. So that's why I was able to do good, and that's what I'm sharing here. And you won't find any such systematic course which is completely dedicated for interview by covering each and every aspect of the interview from the 3 personal experiences. You won't find it. Okay, so make use of this, and see, when you see this lectures itself, you will change your entire perspective on your interview and the way you answer the question, the way you frame your questions, and your preparation also. And one-to-one session will make the biggest difference. Forget about the scores. One-to-one sessions is what make the difference towards the end. Okay, so that's about. Now you will see ethical dilemmas. Now, how to address the ethical dilemmas. See, guys, ethical dilemma where you need to, what they're looking for is integrity, diplomacy, transparency. So how we need to show this and how we are going to address this kind of situation. Ethical dilemmas are common in all situational questions. They will give you, okay, and they are trying to assess the absolute integrity part from you. You cannot compromise integrity at any point of time. Anything else can be done, but not integrity. So these are the questions which are designed to test your integrity and moral judgment, the ethical standards that you possess. So the panel basically want to know if you can uphold the values of civil servant at any given point of time, even when faced with difficult choices. You'll come across different situations, uh, difficult situations, and will you be able to uphold the ethical standards? See, they'll ask you questions about corruption. They'll ask you questions about political pressure. As an SP, you have arrested. This question was asked to me. You arrested a person and immediately you got a call from the minister, what you're going to do. Okay, or they'll give you questions on conflicting values. Okay, so questions on corruption. Your subordinate is caught with a corruption case. And I already discussed this example. Political pressure, conflicting values are meant to see you how you navigate this kind of tricky situations, which are essential for civil servants. And you need to maintain your ethical standards. See, again, I repeat, It's about not reflecting your actual personality. See, sometimes you might be the best person in the world. Good if it is. But even if you're the best person, if you cannot express that, it's over. Even if you're the worst person, if you can show that and if you can act that you're the best, these guys are not going to see you again. That's the best situation. Okay, so I don't want to teach you, or I'm not here to make you the best person. I'm here to make you to deliver your best or what they are expecting from you during that 20 minutes. That's my job. After that, whatever you do, it's up to you. Even, okay, so leave it. So again, I discussed this example already that in one of my interview, actually, I was asked how I could handle a situation where a senior official pressured, me to make a decision that I believe was unethical, related to an arrest of, child molester related case. And my response was basically focused on two things. If you see whatever I have discussed already, first, you ensure that, you know, you stay, I'm answering from your perspective, you stay true to the principles of honesty and integrity. Okay. And second is find a way to diplomatically manage the situation without escalating tension, because you're dealing with your immediate senior. So when you're dealing with your senior, then you cannot be, there is a system that we need to follow, right? The system, and you cannot go against the system. So one of the simple rule is you have to follow the senior, the commands which is given, especially if you're a police officer. So here the question was on that basis, you are duty bound to follow your senior, but at the same time here you are coming up with a very critical ethical issues. Whatever you find is completely illegal is what you are asked to do. So you need to find a balance here. So your response will be focusing on these two aspects here. Ensure that you stay true to the principles of honesty and integrity. We talk about that. This is what my mind says, and this is what I'm going to do. But at the same time, you will also have to see how diplomatically you will manage the situation by convincing and explaining to your senior what the situation is all about. Okay, so in that case, I was able to explain how I would respectfully communicate my concerns to the official, and if necessary, follow the proper channels to address the issue without compromising my ethics. So that's what we need to do. So respectfully communicate to my senior that this is a situation and this is what I need to do. This is what the law demands, and this is what that situation is all about. Then it's over. Even he cannot say no. He cannot force you after that. Okay. So when you're handling this kind of ethical questions, it's important to show that you can balance integrity with diplomacy, because you will be putting, in this situation where the dilemma will be between either you compromise your integrity or you will be having some issue with the diplomatic aspect. So here you need to make a balance between both. See, civil servants often have to navigate this difficult gray areas, but your response should always prioritize fairness, transparency, rule of law, integrity. Okay, so absolute core integrity. Always remember that. That will definitely help you towards the end. Not as a person, not in future. I'm talking only about interview. My discussions are only concerned about, I'm not here to make you the best person in the world. No one can do that unless you decide to. And even if you decide to really become a best person, still you may not be able to deliver good in interview. What I want you to do is deliver the best in interview. Okay, now coming to the next slide, holding the crisis situations. Right. See, guys, crisis situations are also another type of hypothetical questions which you might face in the interview. So how you're going to deal with this? These questions basically test your ability to manage high pressure situations where quick thinking and decision is required. Decision, quick thinking, immediate decision, and implementation of that decision is also required. So here the panel basically want to see how you handle this crisis and how you prioritize the public safety and ensure proper and efficient administration. Okay, so that's what they are looking for. And in one of my interview, I was actually asked how I manage a flood situation in a district where the communication lines were down and resources were limited, etc. So they have given a flood kind of situation. And that time, Tamil Nadu, in Chennai, there was a huge flood, and we're having a lot of issues. And Tamil Nadu being my neighboring state, this question was actually asked. So to handle this question, what I did is I first identified the immediate priorities. What are the immediate priorities? Saving the lives, right? So saving the lives, taking care of aged, taking care of women, taking care of animals, etc. And ensuring basic necessities for affected people like medicines, clothing, food, etc. Okay, and restoring the communication, which is again very important. So after that's the first priority, then you outline. So I outlined how I would mobilize the available resources, though it is limited, but how can I mobilize the available resources? What else I can do with the support of the community and the people? Okay, and coordinate with state and national agencies also, and ensure that the relief operations were conducted transparently and efficiently. So these are the things that I have mentioned there. See, again, when you deal with such crisis questions, crisis situations, it's very important to focus on quick, practical solution. Don't worry about the means here. Don't worry about the rules too much here. There's a very crisis situation, a flood situation. The lives of many people are in crisis. So here you need a quick, practical decision which need to be implemented without any delay. So that's the priority that you need to give here. So at the same time, you also have to demonstrate that you can remain calm and organized under this pressure also. Okay, so the panel is basically looking for someone who can think in their feet, but also ensure long-term stability. So someone who can think, someone who can think critically, analyze the situation, take decision, implement the decision, and also ensure long-term stability. Right. So next is this. Okay, so now again coming to this, we discuss this, identify the priorities when it comes to the crisis situation. So first try to identify priorities, mobilize the resources, make sure things are transparent. So I think in my second interview, okay, I was actually asked a particular question, hypothetical question, a crisis question, tough question, in fact, how I would handle a situation where there was a severe drought in a district and water resources are almost depleted. Okay, the panel basically see from here from this question, what I understood. See, you are thinking about why they have asked this question, right? So here the panel basically wanted to see how I would prioritize resource allocation and manage the crisis here. Okay, so that's why they asked this question. So I understood why they asked this question. Why they asked this question? They want to see how I would prioritize resources here, resource allocation here, and manage the crisis. Now, since I know why they asked this question, it's about prioritization of resources and manage the crisis. I know what to answer. That's my point. So basically, I structured my answer by first acknowledging the severity of the situation and then identifying the key stakeholders. So who are the stakeholders here? Drought situation, resources are limited. So what are the stakeholders? Local community, farmers, definitely, and the government agencies. So you have to bring in the stakeholders. Now you need to see from the different perspectives and the viewpoints and the impact on these stakeholders. You need to talk about them, right? So I basically need to now propose a multi-pronged approach, bringing in all these stakeholders, like rationing water resources, ensuring that drinking water was the top priority at this point of time, and working with neighboring districts for additional supplies to ensure water supply. And I also suggested long-term measure. You need to also mention, you remember, see guys, we discussed already what to do. Long-term measure like implementing water conservation. And for that, you need to make such kind of programs and make policies for that and promoting resistant crops to mitigate the future crisis. This is what. you can discuss. You can discuss much better with the knowledge you have, but that's what I have done at that point of time. And the panel appreciated the fact that I didn't just focus on immediate relief, but also thought about the sustainable solution for the future. Here, what was the sustainable solution which I have given for the future? Rainwater harvesting. Okay, so that's why I'm telling you. I one of the members said good, and that's very satisfying. So that's why I'm telling you. It's not only the short term, the long term impact and the sustainability also need to be discussed. Long-term planning is very important. You have a crisis now, you are going to solve that crisis immediately, okay? But how to make sure that this situation won't come in future, and if it comes, how to solve it? So long-term sustainability or long-term planning, right? Now, moving on to the next one. So we discussed this, right? Identifying priorities, mobilize resources, ensuring transparency. This also we discussed. This is what I have given the answer actually. Rationing water, prioritize drinking water, seek additional supplies, and then long-term planning. Yeah, in fact, it is clearly mentioned. Okay, now let's conclude. See, guys, I'll give you opportunity to conclude. Whoever want to, you can raise the hands after the session. I'll give you opportunity to do that. And after that, we can have the Q&A. And then we will take up the assignment that we have discussed last day. Okay. So guys, what's the conclusion? We were talking about situational and hypothetical questions. These are basically to test your judgment, ethics, moral standards, decision-making abilities, integrity, balanced thought, etc. So by using a structured approach, which I have given to you, which I have shown to you, which I have explained with examples from my own practical experience, you might have understood how to handle that, right? So by using the structured approach, like understanding the situation first, identifying the key stakeholders, balancing the options, and or weighing the option and making a balanced decision. I repeat once again, understand the situation, identify the stakeholders, see the possible options, give a balanced answer. Not only the short-term solution, but also the long-term aspects. And this is how you're tackling this question with a confidence. And this is how you will make the impression in front of them. And this is what exactly I want you to do in that 20 minutes. Each and every question which they're asking, we will be having this reverse engineering approach, and we are going to give the best version of yours. What they are expecting is what you're going to deliver. That's it. And after that 20 minutes, you come and outside and do whatever you want. No one is cared about that. Okay. So again, always prioritize integrity, fairness, public safety, and dealing with ethical dilemmas, especially when you're dealing with ethical dilemmas and crisis situation. When it comes to the actual life, that's up to you guys. There is no question, and I'm no one to advise you. But when it comes to the interview, it's all about the scoring mark and getting into that list. So here, you paid, so I am advising. I'm no one to advise you in life. That's up to you and your choice, your life. Here, I want to make sure that you see, that's why you paid heavy and you're getting one-to-one sessions, 5 one-to-one sessions, mock interviews. So that's what I want to make sure. Okay. So what you need to do, practice answering these kind of questions with me and with the mock interviews that you take outside also, and focus on developing the ability to think critically and act decisively. Your answers should make them understand that you are a decision maker and an implementer of that decision, and you know the pros and cons, positives and negatives of the decision that you have taken. Long-term, short-term impact, you know. Right? So that's what exactly I wanted to discuss. Now, what you can do tomorrow. Do the same, practice answering some hypothetical question. Use the method which I have discussed and record the video. Okay, and you can send in the group. So that will help you to have a healthy discussion. I'll also comment. So now I'll come with the So who's raising hands? Yes, I'll come to each one of you guys. I'll unmute each one of you one by one. And now let me stop recording and then we can do that, right?